So we got some movie news, and it's not particularly new movie news. I think we got this news last week, maybe the week before. I know there was definitely rumors circulating over the past several years about this. But for the sake of argument, let's just say this is still relatively new news, man. I hate feeling like I'm fucking 10 years behind getting the news out to y'all, but I feel like as long as I get my thoughts out there to the listeners, lovers, supporters out there, I feel like that is doing it justice. But I don't know, man. I feel like it was some things I had to get off my chest about this. Not necessarily any bad things, though. This the first movie does have its problems for me, but I just think it's very interesting that we are like seeing everything kind of come full circle and come into fruition with this I Am Legend 2 movie that's supposed to be going into development. Not in production right now, but it is definitely confirmed by the producer, Akiva Goldsman, who I'm gonna get to Akiva Goldsman in a second because I've seen that. I know for a fact I've mentioned that guy's name in at least an episode or two prior to this one a while ago. I just cannot remember what it was. I feel like his name is attached to a comic book property. I'm not sure, but nonetheless, man, the news had broke that we were definitely getting a sequel to I Am Legend. There's no like subtitle, there's no fancy, working title or filming title that they're going under. It just is I Am Legend 2 right now. And I remember the rumors years ago, man, when they were saying that Will Smith was going to come back and he was going to be old man Neville and all this other stuff. And I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense because at the end of the movie, Robert Neville, he sacrifices himself to make sure that Alice Braga, I can't remember the kid's name that was in I Am Legend. I had almost forgot because it wasn't a movie I watched a lot. I think I had seen it once, and then I just kind of left it alone after that, and for my own little personal reasons. But I had almost forgot Alice Braga and that kid were in the movie because it was one of those movies that I had never expected to see Will Smith in. Man, I had never expected to see Will Smith, coming from such a comedic background like The Fresh Prince, and he had been in Men in Black, and he was like comic relief in Independence Day, even like early shit like Made in America. I was just mentioning that movie earlier, Made in America with Nia Long and Ted Danson and Whoopi Goldberg. I want to say Jennifer Tilly was in that movie too, but basically him being a comedic actor for the most part, he really got a chance to showcase his acting chops, and he got a chance to like really carry a film with no other co-stars for the most part other than that dog. That dog was a hell of a, was that dog a girl or was it a boy? I don't remember. The dog was definitely a hell of a talent, I'll say that. But Will Smith and I Am Legend, man, it's always good to see these actors from these comedic backgrounds step into the realm of sci-fi or post-apocalyptic or thriller or horror. I've always considered I Am Legend to be a horror movie at its core. The concept alone is based off of something similar to the horror genre. I don't know how close they wanted to play it to the vest as far as the genre goes, but I'm just going to go ahead and say that this is based off of a horror property. And being as though his character died at the end of that movie, I was like, there's no way he could have survived that explosion. I don't know what they would do with I Am Legend 2. And like I said, I wasn't really an Alice Braga fan, and I didn't like her in Predators, and then when there were rumors of I Am Legend 2 even after Predators came out, and I was just like, oh, the chick that had the big ass sniper rifle from Predators, are they going to bring her back in I Am Legend because her and the kid survived? Are we going to have more survivors? I just didn't think it would work without Will Smith, and I just kind of wrote it off after that. And then we got the confirmed news, from they had what they said was a lengthy interview with Deadline with Akiva Goldsman, and they confirmed it. And not only did they confirm that the sequel was happening, but they confirmed that Michael B. Jordan was set to star in it. And at that point, I'm like, okay, this is different. Michael B. Jordan's definitely one of my favorite actors currently. And he actually has been for quite some time. And I feel like ever since Fruitvale Station, Michael B. Jordan has turned into one of my favorite actors. And he's one of those guys, if you guys want to go listen to my Creed 3 final trailer reaction, y'all can definitely hear me singing that man's praises and just giving him his props, man, as one of the best working actors out there today. But Michael B. Jordan, I'm not going to hold y'all, man. I'm going to keep it a beam with y'all. When they announced that Michael B. Jordan was set to star in it, I was like, okay. So if Michael B. Jordan is headlining this thing, then there's definitely no Will Smith. There's definitely no Will Smith in this. And then they kind of hinted at the fact that Will Smith might be involved. And I'm like, well, is he going to be producer? I can see if he was a producer or executive producer on it, but you can't bring him back from that explosion. So then there was the news. This was the game changer right here. And we'll get more into this. I don't plan to take up too much of your time today. I'm so serious. But, we'll get to this news like in depth at some point. But then there was the news that Will Smith was joining Michael B. Jordan in the film on screen. And that, when that came out, that raised a lot of questions. And I'm sure not just from me, but from everybody that was like, wait, we saw this movie in the theater. Robert Neville sacrificed himself. He's gone. He's dead. But this movie decided to have the balls. These producers, this producer, this studio, whoever made this decision, they said, nah, we're going to make the alternate ending canon. We are going to pick this sequel up from where the alternate ending left off. And I was a little confused, but then I went on YouTube last week and I watched the alternate ending. The alternate ending does not have Robert Neville die. Will Smith does not die in that ending. He injects, I don't know if it's he injects some shit in the syringe, all right? He injects it into, like, the alpha female, and he ends up saving her. And then the alpha male picks her up, and he kind of, like growls at Will Smith. When Will Smith apologizes, he's like, I'm sorry for what happened to y'all. But the alpha male, he picks up his lady. He head nods his crew. He's like, come on, man, we up out of here. Let's go catch the last episode of 106 in Park while we roll out of this joint. And they roll out. They leave, and everybody survives. It's not a particularly happy ending because these zombie vampires, these zompires pretty much still exist in this post-apocalyptic world, but it is a better, I don't know. I really don't know if it's a better ending than the original. It's kind of bittersweet to see Neville sacrifice himself in the first ending, but the alternate ending is like, okay, I don't want to see Will Smith die in any movie he's in. I had a hard time enough watching 7 Pounds. Spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen it. I won't spoil how it happens, but it's a great performance by Will Smith, but it's a sad outcome for his character. Now, before we get into, have we seen this before? Have we seen a movie, just retcon its theatrical ending and just for the sake of making a sequel? Has any other movie ever done this? I can't think of any off the top. I really can't. I don't remember if I thought of any in these notes that I've got here, but, to go back, like to hark back to the beginning, this was not, I never knew that this was based off of a book. And shame on me, man, trying to be a self-proclaimed bookworm, but I had never read the Richard Matheson novel. It's by the same name. It's called I Am Legend, and it was published in 1954, if I'm not mistaken. And this book, it plays pretty close to what we see in the Will Smith movie, but they took some liberties like they always do. The book is always better. I feel like all bookworms and people that try to enjoy the adaptations that we get on screen, I feel like we know the truth at heart. The majority of the time, maybe 85 to 90% of the time, the book is always better. And the funny thing about this book is that this original I Am Legend book, this was not, I feel like it grew to take on a life of its own and became like this classic type of property. But looking at this critical reception that the book got, it was not really praised the way that one would think it would be. And I actually went back and did a little bit of research, and I was like, oh, people were going to just hail this book as, a game changer and this, that, and the other. And it's like, nah, this, there's a lot of people that say, this, somebody that, what is this, Galaxy reviewer, Groff Conklin, described Legend as a weird and rather slow-moving first novel, a horrid, violent, and sometimes exciting, but too often overdone tour de force. And that's like, you wouldn't expect, I mean, obviously every book and every movie is going to have like, it's not always going to have amazing critical reception, but I just thought that this book would just get more acclaim. And I'm not saying it hasn't gotten any acclaim at all. I was just surprised that something that's really hailed, just got the backlash that it did. But obviously that didn't stop it from, like I said, taking on a life of its own, because with that 1954 novel, there came a movie 10 years later with Vincent Price that was based off the book, and it was called The Last Man on Earth. Now, I remember I've never seen this movie, but I remember Del Toro, Guillermo del Toro. I always say that motherfucker's name. I say his first name wrong, and y'all know I suck at saying last name, but I always say his first name wrong. Nonetheless, man, I think it was it 100 scariest movie moments? It was some type of interview where Del Toro was quoting The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price. I've never seen the movie, but it's definitely, being as though we've got this I Am Legend news. I want to go back and watch the original movie with the alternate ending to cap things off. I feel like I owe it to myself to go back and watch The Last Man on Earth. And if I can really quickly go to the Last Man on Earth movie, this was directed by Ubaldo Ragona and Sidney Salco, and said it stars Vincent Price and Franca Betocia. Y'all get what I'm saying? Y'all know what I'm saying? But it's funny, man. I think they took some liberties of their own here because Vincent Price plays a guy named Dr. Robert Morgan as opposed to Robert Neville. But I see there's like flashback sequences involved here, which are also involved in the I Am Legend movie. And then you had the Omega Man, which was also a take on this. Now let me see if this was a sequel or not, because this interpretation or adaptation, whatever you want to call it, it had Charleston Heston in there from from the Planet of the Apes movies, which I think is pretty fucking interesting, man. When I think of Charleston Heston, all I can think of is the ending for the ending for that Planet Apes movie, which some people laugh at, but I think it's some pretty disturbing shit that's going on in that one. But this says let's see here. Okay, so he is playing, I guess he's playing the character of Robert Neville. Yep, Heston is Robert Neville. Rosalind Cash is in this movie. I definitely have to watch I Am Omega, or I definitely, not I Am Omega, but The Omega Man. I've got to watch this because Rosalind Cash, man, rest in peace, shout out to her, man. She passed away in 1995. That is the woman who was doing Lamont Bentley. Rest in peace, shout out to him as well. She was doing Lamont Bentley's rehabilitation thing that he had going on in that last segment of Tales from the Hood. And she was such a great actress, man. I didn't really know her prior to Tales from the Hood, but she's in stuff like Uptown Saturday Night and Dr. Black and Mr. Hyde, which means she's no stranger to the horror genre and blaxploitation horror at that. And that reminds me, maybe I need to go back and watch Dr. Black and Mr. Hyde. I just can't get past the title, but we'll see what happens. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Now, while we're talking about the adaptations here, we had the 1954 novel, we had the 1964 movie, The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price, we had the 1971 adaptation, The Omega Man with Charleston Heston, and I had slipped up and said I Am Omega because that was where I was going next as far as these adaptations go. Now, I don't know if this came out before or after I Am Legend with Will Smith, but I remember seeing this movie probably a couple years ago, and this was a movie that I caught on a whim. I had went to Walmart in the $5 bin, and I bought one of those movies that it's got like 17 fucking horror movies on it, and I was like, you can't beat 17 or so horror movies on like 2 or 3 discs. You can't beat that for $5, so I'll give it a chance, man. I've seen a bunch of shitty B horror movies before, but I will say this, man. I watched one of those movies, which just so happened to be I Am Omega, and it had my man Mark Dacascos in it from Only the Strong and The Crow Stairway to Heaven and John Wick 3. And I said to myself while I was watching that movie, I'm like, this isn't just about a man, like the last man, the seemingly last man on Earth just fighting off mutants, practical mutants at that. Now, mind y'all, seeing practical mutants or zombies, whatever they were, zompires, I like seeing the practical effects after seeing how bad those CG mutants were in I Am Legend with Will Smith. I was actually impressed. It was satisfying to see. Is the movie a masterpiece? Fuck no. Absolutely not. But Mark Dacascos gets to shoot guns, he gets to beat the hell out of mutants, he gets to run and jump all over the place, and you do see at some point he's not the last man on Earth. And there are other survivors like there are in these other adaptations. But I'm telling y'all, man, while I don't know whether to recommend it, but if you're a B movie fan, if you're a Mark Dacascos fan, if you just like watching cheesy, horror movies just to pass through for an hour or so, then yeah, definitely check out I Am Omega, man. I think it is the B movie equivalent of I Am Legend. I just feel like, Obviously it didn't get a theatrical release, but it gets swept under the radar even more because it has Mark Dacascos headline in it. And while somebody like me thinks Mark Dacascos should definitely be like one of the biggest martial arts stars of the world, I feel like, it's not like they had somebody like Will Smith who's got the acting chops to headline it, even if it was a B movie. I feel like had they would have chose a much like a better known actor, I don't know, but shit, I feel like with that being said, let's cast Mark Dacascos in I Am Legend too. Like let's do that shit. But moving on to the actual I Am Legend movie with Will Smith. Like I said, I remember when I saw it, I was impressed, man. It took me back to a time like when I saw Denzel. While Denzel is not a comedic actor per se, but I saw Denzel make the transition to like psychological horror or thriller, mystery type of film with Fallen, and to see Will Smith jump into another genre entirely with I Am Legend, man. I was floored, man. Like I was excited. I remember the trailers were gassing this up. The trailers were very vague. You didn't see a lot of the monsters. There was one, I think it was a teaser trailer where you heard like it's that scene where Robert Neville is in the bathtub with his assault rifle and all you hear is just the growls of the monsters outside. And I remember that being one of the teaser trailers and I was like, okay, Will Smith has gone horror. I'm all for it, man. And any win for the city of Philadelphia is a win. Will Smith is still the best rapper turned actor. That's from the city of Philadelphia or just in the world, Craig, anywhere. Will Smith is still the GOAT when it comes to this rapper turned actor shit, man. He can do whatever genre he wants. But I feel like my overall response was pretty good for I Am Legend. My complaint was just those fucking CG zompires, man. I just hated how they looked. I don't know if they had people in motion capture suits and they built the CG around that, or if they just had straight up CG people that Will Smith didn't even get to work with on set. Either way, I think Will Smith did a great job in the movie. I think the dog does a great job, acting with CG effects that aren't even there. But I like, look, man, I don't know. It's just at the time 2007, I feel like we could have done way better. I've seen way better effects in worse movies, man. And I don't know who was behind that CG, but I feel like the movie, other than the CG, it still holds up really well because, like I said, Will Smith carries this film really without any co-stars next to him, at least up until the like a good portion of the last of the third act. But Will Smith has got this thing on his fucking shoulders, man. It's just a man and his dog in the zombie. Well, we can call it a zombie apocalypse for the sake of argument. Whatever. They're zombie mutants, damn it. But he is one of his low key. It's one of his best performances for me, man. Now I can go on a rant and say, oh, Ali, King Richard, which I still haven't seen yet. I can go on on like a real rant and say what Will Smith should, The Pursuit of Happiness is the performance of his entire career from what I've seen. But mind you, I haven't seen King Richard yet. I haven't seen Concussion. But I think The Pursuit of Happiness is the best performance Will Smith has ever done. That is the bar that was set for me. But I Am Legend is definitely, as far as his performances go, it's definitely up there because I feel like it's not easy for somebody to get out there and just, do some crazy serious acting with mannequins and, with green tennis balls and, puppets that look like the monster dogs and shit like that. And he knocks it out the park, man. Now, really quickly, man, this original versus the alternate ending thing. Do we is this a cop out or what? This is one of the reasons where I wish I could have you guys interact when I ask these questions because I'm dying to know. Now I'm pretty sure somebody will hear the episode and they might comment or they might DM or something and comment on this after the fact. But it's times like this where I really wish I had y'all hands on to answer these questions because I was kind of at war with myself too, man. Like I was thinking, while I've never seen a movie do this before, do I want to see movies continue to do this in the future? And I'm not all the way sure. I don't know, man. It's something about it's something about this screams cop out. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting for Will Smith. I'm rooting for Michael B. Jordan. I think this sequel could do some amazing things. But is it like somebody sat up at 2 a.m. one day? Is it one of those situations where it just sat up no, we can make a part two. We just gotta Like he called somebody up at 2 a.m. and somebody was up either getting some ass at 2 a.m. or they were hungover from the night before, and then their buddy calls them up at 2 a.m. like, listen, man, we can make a part two. And it's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? And it's like, no, we can make a part two. We just scrap the theatrical ending that everybody, came to know and love, and then we make the alternate ending canon. What do you think? Now, obviously, that idea translated pretty fucking well in these meetings because we're getting the sequel. But it's just like, is it a lazy move to do? Like, was this supposed to be a one-off thing, or did they really have a sequel in the can that was official? Was it just rumored, or did somebody somewhere, I believe this was Warner Brothers, because they advertised a whole bunch of Warner Brothers things in the background in the original movie they had, or not the original movie, but the original I Am Legend movie with Will Smith. They had the Batman versus Superman logo on a billboard in that movie in 2007. And I thought that was a dope ass thing that they did, because I have been waiting for that movie since I saw that logo. That was the dopest fucking logo I had ever seen in my life at the time. But I don't know, man. I'm just curious to know, like, who loves the original ending and thought that we shouldn't get a sequel, as opposed to everybody on board with the idea that they're making the alternate ending canon. I don't know. Obviously I'm not too against it. I just have those types of reservations in the back of my mind, because if this thing turns out to be bad, which I don't want it to, but if it does, it's like, you guys could have just kept the original movie and just left it alone. We never had to even touch it. You would have just had the alternate ending. It's like, if they look, you would have had a better chance of doing a sequel to Halloween Resurrection if you tried this, because it's like, okay, Michael Myers jumped out of the sewer hole, or the whatever the fuck they were. What am I trying to say here, people? Let me not lose my train of thought. First of all, let me not start talking about Halloween Resurrection. Y'all already know how I feel about that. But I'm just speaking for the sake of alternate endings. Do we want this to become a trend where they just scrap these theatrical endings that stick with people so much, man, and then they just go with the endings that weren't? I don't know. Maybe that would have made sense for Halloween 2. When we seen Lance Guest's character Jimmy still survived. When he slips in that puddle of blood, we think he's dead. We think he fucking, like he's dead when he passes out in the car when Laurie sees him again. But there's an alternate ending that they show in the TV version where Jimmy's alive. Now, that would have added way more context as far as who Jamie Lloyd's father was, but that's neither here nor there, man. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if we're going to tie up loose ends, let's tie up loose ends, but let's do it right the first fucking time, man. Like, that's my only thing. This is a dangerous trend if it picks up. We already know that direct sequels, everything's scrapping the rest of the sequels and only, gravitating towards the original. That's the biggest trend right now. Excuse me. That legacy sequels, which kind of is the same thing. But that's a trend that's quite dangerous in itself, because I feel like people are very attached to, even the worst sequels have their fan base. But if this is a trend that picks up, I hope they know what they're doing. Now, for me to jump back on the right side of the fence and be positive about this, I feel like, with all that being said, with all of my concerns here, I do feel like I Am Legend 2, with Michael B. Jordan set to star and Will Smith coming back, I feel like this could definitely be a post-apocalyptic epic, and I'm not even joking when I say that. For starters, it's fucking Will Smith and Michael B. Jordan on screen together, two of the best actors ever, and I feel like, there might be a lot of people out there, oh, well, Michael B. Jordan, I wouldn't say ever, because, there are people in the comment section who would hit me with things like that, and it's like, from what I've seen, Michael B. Jordan hasn't given me a bad performance, even in a movie like Fantastic Four, where he's trying to do something with this character, but he just doesn't have a lot of shit to work with around him. I have not seen a particularly bad performance from Michael B. Jordan as far as movies go. TV, I wasn't into The Wire. I'm not even going to count Hardball, even though that wasn't a TV show, but Hardball was one of the earliest films he was in, and it was some other shit he was in when he was a kid. I can't remember, but from Fruitvale Station until now, and the fact that I'm like, Creed 3 is one of my most anticipated movies of the year, then yeah, seeing him act alongside Will Smith Will Switch, who is also Will Smith's alternate ego, his evil doppelganger. I don't know, maybe that's the guy that slapped Chris Rock on stage at the Oscars, who knows. And speaking of that, I've sung the praises of Michael B. Jordan before. That being said, all jokes aside, let me just go out and say, to all you people that swore y'all were going to cancel Will Smith, oh, he's not invited back to the Oscars. They're going to take his Oscar away. He'll never make another movie in this industry again. How y'all feeling right now? Because if there's one thing I know, regardless of who slapped who and who shot John and forgot to bury him, y'all ain't canceling Will Smith. Will Smith is going to remind people, and I feel like he has reminded people time and time again, whether he's had a flop and had to get over that or not. He is going to remind people of who one of the early box office bullies were. Yeah, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, you got it now, sir. You do, and kudos to you. But Will Smith was that guy, man, and he's even rapped about it. Every summer he had on Smash. Every year he had on Smash at some point. Yes, I had my thoughts on the Oscar slap. And in retrospect, looking back at that episode and how I was like really in my feelings and rooting for Will Smith and saying that everybody has a breaking point and that disrespect is at an all-time high and things of that nature. Do I feel bad that I was kind of cheering it on? Yeah, I do, because I think of like, what if somebody would have did that to me? It probably would have been a different outcome. I would have jumped on Will Smith's back as soon as he walked the fuck off. Like, listen, I would have been banned from every award ceremony ever. I probably would have lost some endorsement deals, because you ain't just gonna slap the shit out of me and walk the fuck off. It's not going down. But y'all would have had to find an alternate host for that show. That's neither here nor there. But like I said, in retrospect, yeah, going back on it, I wish that didn't happen. I really truly do, man. Did it put a stain on Will Smith's career in a way? Absolutely. Yes, it did. Did it cause a rift between him and Chris Rock that I look back on and I wish it never happened, and I wish that they could find some type of way on this earth to move past it? Yeah, I do wish that could happen, but we can't control how, every action has a reaction, and obviously we have no control over that. We are not in those people's shoes. But I say all that to say this: Will Smith is not going anywhere. And for Will Smith to jump back into, Will Smith is a guy who turned down a sequel. He's come back for sequels before. I like Men in Black 3 over Men in Black 2 any day of the week. But, he capped off a trilogy with those Men in Black movies. He had plans to do, a couple Suicide Squad movies, Deadshots. He was going to pop up in, excuse me, like some Harley Quinn movies and things of that nature. But let's keep in mind, Will Smith had the chance to do Independence Day Resurgence. And I feel like it was either between that and let me do a sequel and jump back in with my boy Jeff Goldblum and my boy, I almost called that motherfucker Lloyd Bridges. What's that man's name? Oh, who played the president? Bill Pullman. He could have jumped back in with his homies, and they could have been the OGs in a sequel that was just so fucking lackluster. Or he could have did the Suicide Squad, where, again, he could have showed up in a Harley Quinn movie, Captain Boomerang. He's a part of a universe now. He can be a part of his own franchise or something else. And I feel like while the Suicide Squad was not received well by everybody, it made a shit ton of money and got an award for its practical effects. While it wasn't received well, I do think business-wise he made the better decision, because nobody wanted to fucking see Will Smith alongside Jesse T. Usher and Liam Hemsworth. Like, who the fuck are they? Nobody gave a fuck. Listen, I sat down and watched Independence Day Resurgence. I think when they first aired it on HBO a couple years back, and I'm not gonna lie, I had some herbal refreshments when I did, and I sat up close to the TV. The highlight of that entire movie for me was when they had that Star Wars like jet fight or whatever it was. All I seen was a bunch of ships flying all over the place, and they were trying to infiltrate the big ship, the mothership or whatever. That was a cool scene to watch. Other than that, the movie was garbage. So Will Smith has turned down sequels before, so to see him want to come back for I Am Legend, I feel like Will Smith is about to be stronger on screen than he's ever been. I feel like Will Smith is about to peak again. I feel like Will Smith, he has peaked in his career, but I feel like he's about to do it all over again, just because I feel like after that Oscars incident, he has done, I'm hoping, this is just my personal thoughts and assumptions. I'm assuming that he's done a lot of healing, and the idea to just jump right back into acting, man. He had Emancipation. I didn't really have any intentions at all on seeing that. I still don't. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just over the whole slavery notions in films and things of that nature. I feel like it's putting us steps backwards, but he does look like he's acting his ass off in that movie, so who knows? I might watch it. But, I feel like this might be no pun intended, because I just was talking about Will Smith turning down Independence Day. I feel like this might be his resurgence. This might be Will Smith 2.0. You know, he might reinvent himself and make people love him on screen all over again. Because while a lot of people aren't feeling Will Smith right now for many reasons, there's still that Will Smith fan base, man. And I'm not just talking about the people from Philly. I'm just talking about people over, like, all over the world. Will Smith is still a global phenomenon, and while I feel like he'll be back stronger than ever on screen, what better to do than to team him up with another fellow black actor that just keeps progressing and just keeps elevating, getting better and better and better. Another reason I feel like this movie can work is that, you know, the concept is still cool to me. You know, the concept is still very much in tune with what's going on today. I mean, we can't just sit up here and act like, I mean, I had my, you know, I called it the plandemic, and, you know, when COVID first hit, I definitely did an episode talking about when outbreaks attack and how many movies predicted shit like this, and how I feel like, you know, medical science doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about as far as this pandemic goes, and I still feel that way, but I feel like I'm a little more educated on a lot of things. But I feel like this concept could still work in today's climate, because you've got all these variants of different diseases coming out. You've got people getting sick from vaccines and dying from the vaccines and diseases, or whatever the case may be. And let's not forget, these people did not transform in the I Am Legend movie due to the disease. They transformed due to the vaccine. Now, somebody out there correct me if I'm wrong, but that is one of the most terrifying things about the concept by itself. The fact that they inject you with this thing that's supposed to save the world from the most deadly disease ever, but that's the sole reason why we're in this post-apocalyptic world with these fucking bad CG monsters to begin with. It's a crazy concept, man. I feel like it could work. I feel like you could educate some people. There's going to be a bunch of people that are going to scream that it's woke. No, I feel like if there's any time to use social commentary, at the height of social commentary, then it might be now, especially with a movie like this, man. I'm not sure how many movies we've gotten in recent years that are based off of, you know, diseases turning people into this and that. I think the movies that I had talked about in that episode when outbreaks attack, when the pandemic first broke, I think one of the ones I went to was Return of the Living Dead. You know, that is something I will always go to. Now, granted, that wasn't necessarily a disease; it was an outbreak of some kind. But I talked about Return of the Living Dead. I talked about 12 Monkeys. I talked about Contagion. I talked about Outbreak and 28 Days Later. I feel like this can be another movie, along with the first I Am Legend. It could be another movie that can just be in the comparison of movies that have these outbreaks, and, you know, they can take their liberties with the information as they please. And I feel like they can still, with this concept, deliver something and then expand on it even more. And speaking of expansion, I feel like as far as this story goes, this is the opportunity with having both Will Smith and Michael B. Jordan. This is the opportunity to do one of two things. This is the opportunity to make these two on screen together, make them have one of the strongest brotherhoods we've ever seen in a post-apocalyptic movie. Like, I don't know, man. When I think of, I know these two characters I'm talking about are black, but for the sake of argument, let me just mention two characters in general. Rick Grimes and Daryl Dixon from The Walking Dead. That is a brotherhood that is so close knit that I feel like these motherfuckers are real people. Like, I was rooting for them every single Sunday. And when shit hit the fan and they had each other's back, I was cheering, literally cheering. That does not happen to me often, but it happens a lot when I'm involved in when I'm invested in, rather, these post-apocalyptic zombie properties. And to have Michael B. Jordan and Will Smith, you know, form a brotherhood on screen, man, like, to see them rocking out back to back, shoulder to shoulder, side by side. Listen, tag team off the ropes on these motherfuckers. I'm telling y'all, it could be something magical. And if we don't go with the brotherhood aspect with these two characters, because I'm assuming they're going to be the focal points. Maybe we'll have more survivors, but I feel like this is a chance where we can definitely put an emphasis on the whole less is more thing. I'm not really in a rush to see who they cast next for this movie. I'm cool with them just mentioning Michael B. Jordan and Will Smith for now, and then just sprinkling a couple names here and there, but not like 12 new cast members of big name stars that we're looking forward to seeing. I'm cool if they just have like up and coming actors that nobody knows. But like I was saying, man, if we don't go with the brotherhood aspect, one of the things that they can do, and another thing they should do, is because of Will Smith being the more seasoned survivor and the more seasoned actor overall, we can not only, or we can't have a, if we can't have a brotherhood type of thing, then we can have that surrogate father son angle amongst Robert Neville and whoever Michael B. Jordan is playing. And I feel like that could definitely work because we're basically going to get old man Neville. I want to see Will Smith. Um, if I could make a comparison here, if y'all know if it's one thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make a comparison because I'm a movie buff. I'm thinking of Bruce Wayne. I'm thinking of Ben Affleck's version of Bruce Wayne, where he has been doing this for so long. He's fucking fed up. He's tired. He's got to handle things in a different way. He's got less of a tolerance for the bullshit. And he doesn't really have time for everybody else's antics. He's going to do it his own way. If he has to work with somebody and he has to learn how to play well with others, then so be it. If his back is against the wall and he has to work with Michael B. Jordan or has to save him or something and keep him along the way so that he doesn't die, cool. It reminds me also of Logan. Hugh Jackman did a fantastic job doing that whole, that Man on Fire thing where it's like, oh my God, I do not want to be around this fucking kid, but I have to because I don't want to see anything happen to the kid. Now, if they do that, the surrogate father-son angle, I feel like the emotional stakes will be so fucking great between the two characters. It'd be like Old Man Neville schooling, the new guy pretty much, or the rookie, so to speak. But, who knows? Michael B. Jordan's character may have some tricks up his sleeve that he taught himself along the way, or that somebody told him that Robert Neville doesn't know, man. I feel like either angle could work. And also one of the things that they could introduce here, they could introduce new mutations. Obviously, this is a chance to get some better special effects. I don't know if they want to go more practical. If they decide to go more practical with these monsters, and if they hopefully have some new mutations, whether they be dogs, other types of animals, other types of human hybrids, whatever, if they decide to go practical, that is music to my ears, man, because we are too far into the future to have them shitty CG. Those motherfuckers look like do y'all remember when Channing Tatum and Marlon Wayans had the Halo suits on in G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra? They look like that. They look like, and I don't want to disrespect the Will Smith property here, but they look like some of the CG when Will Smith was running and jumping around in the Gemini Man. I actually enjoyed the hell out of that movie, but there are some scenes where I almost called him the young Jaden, because that's who he looks like. When the young Will Smith in Gemini Man looks like Jaden Smith and the Fresh Prince in one. But there are scenes where he's running or on a motorcycle, and that motherfucker looks like Scarlett. I think that girl's name was Scarlett when she was the CG Scarlett on the motorcycle in G.I. Joe. And can we please go practical? Can we please go practical? Listen, but if they go CG, I hope they get somebody like maybe Weta Digital, the person that handled it's a little rocky at times only due to the eyes, but the production, the effects company that handled the CG for Paul Walker and Furious 7. I think they did a hell of a job. They did the best job that they could possibly do. It's just that the eyes gave away the CG, and sometimes his face was a little too pasty, but I couldn't have done a better job than they did. So hats off to Weta Digital. I feel like that's definitely, if you want to go CG, definitely go with them, because they are definitely on their A game as of recent years. Another thing I'm thinking about with this new sequel is the fact that is this a chance to pass this torch off to Michael B. Jordan? And if so, do we have Robert Neville die for real this time? Do we have him die, and do we have him die in such a way where we know he's dead for real? We see him take his last breath. We don't do like a cop-out situation where we bring him back in part 3 or part 4, depending on how long they plan to stretch this thing out. But I wouldn't mind if Michael B. Jordan has his own series of post-apocalyptic films. I'm cool with that. Again, that's seeing Michael B. Jordan make the transition into another genre that I'm really fond of, and I'm cool with that. It'll be a little emotional, like getting Will Smith back just to kill him off and pass the torch, but I could understand why if they did make that decision. But let me also say this, because I'm actually about to wrap this up soon. If we don't kill Will Smith, there's something that I need y'all not to fucking do here. I need y'all to not After Earth this shit and put Will Smith in the back seat. Let me repeat myself. Do not After Earth this shit and put Will Smith in the back seat. Now, I say all that to say this. I'm going to tell y'all what I mean by that. The people that have seen After Earth, y'all know where I'm going with this. But for the uninitiated, I'm going to break it down so it could forever be broke. Let me just say, M. Night Shyamalan, fellow Pennsylvanian. I want to say he grew up in Philadelphia, but Pennsylvania nonetheless. PA stand up, we out here. His movies are hit or miss for me, but I respect his hustle, I respect his craft, I respect his artistry overall. After Earth, I feel like that movie gets way more hate than it deserves. I feel like that movie had a bullseye on its back prior to it even coming out, and you'd be surprised because Jaden Smith wasn't as eccentric, quote unquote, as people claim he is today. Will Smith did not slap anybody at that point. M. Night Shyamalan, I mean, he had some movies that people call flops. I think he had Lady in the Water at the time. A lot of people weren't fans of The Village, but those movies have their fan base. Now, again, After Earth was not as bad as people make it out to be. Some people say it's M. Night Shyamalan's worst movie. I would tend to disagree. After Earth is just, I feel like that movie sold me one thing and I got something completely different. I wasn't all the way upset with what I got. Because I like that concept. Again, post-apocalyptic, we have to survive on Earth. Oh my God, what is Earth now? There's big-ass eagles and big-ass saber-toothed tigers and monsters and shit. And I think Jaden Smith's name was Katai, and I forgot their names in the movie. But nonetheless, man, we really thought we were getting, oh my God, a sci-fi post-apocalyptic movie directed by M. Night Shyamalan where we get Will Smith and Jaden Smith on screen together for the first time since The Pursuit of Happiness, rocking out side by side, father and son, going to death, battle with these motherfuckers. We didn't get that. We got, the plane crashed. Will Smith's like, yeah, I got a hangnail and stub my toe. So, son, you go out there and fetch whatever supplies we need to get this ship started up. All right. Patted him on the ass and was like, now go and get. And that's what we pretty much got. And we pretty much got this, not really a coming of age story, but just this journeyman-like story with Jaden Smith. And I was perfectly fine with that because, while Will Smith is taking a backseat to that movie, he is guiding his son through a lot of his trials and tribulations in that movie, and so much so that they even argue. He's arguing with his dad at some point before he jumps off the cliff and like is like parasailing or hang gliding, whatever the fuck he's doing in that scene. But look, I'm rambling on here, man. I don't want them to be like Will Smith returns as Robert Neville alongside Michael B. Jordan, and Will Smith, breaks his leg in the first act of the movie, and then Michael B. Jordan just has to, run along and do his own thing, and they can't even fight side by side together. Don't do that, man. Please don't give us false advertisement. Don't. What Jeremy Renner say in Avengers Endgame, where he's like, don't do that. Don't give me hope. Like, don't do that, man. Please don't sell me on the fact that we are getting a tag team off the ropes with two of my favorite actors, and then one of them takes a back seat due to, like, come on, man. Will Smith, if you can do all of those physical stunts in Emancipation, and you can do a couple of those stunts yourself, I seen you rock out in Bad Boys for Life. I know when the stunt double kicked in, because when the motion capture dots, when they can't. Y'all get what I'm saying, but you can still. Will Smith is still in fairly good shape, man. He takes care of himself, and I feel like he can pull these stunts off. He can pull some stunts off. You can run from some CG monsters or something like that. You can slide every once in a while. You can hit the ground running. You can do all types of shit. Please do not fall back. Don't let up. If you've got people gassed up for this, do not let up. Don't let these producers, pull you to the side or in the trailer like, Will, we kind of had this stunt double on deck, or not even a stunt double. Like, listen, we kind of made some rewrites to the script, and we just want you to hang tight for a little bit. Just kick back and just watch Michael B. Jordan do it. No, don't do that. Do not do that, man. And also, before I close out, I'm gonna close out on the Will Smith note here. I don't mean to take the focus off of Michael B. Jordan. He's amazing. But I'm going to close out on a Will Smith note here because I'm almost taking up 50 minutes of y'all time today. Will Smith, while I did say, or I'd asked the question, I'm like, is this the resurgence of Will Smith? Are we about to get Will Smith 2.0? Is he about to peak in his career and reinvent himself all over again? If so, and if you are in a I'm going to do sequels to these movies type of mood, then Mr. Smith, Can I get a sequel to, not even a sequel? Can I get a Deadshot movie? Can I get a Deadshot movie? I feel like DC, they've been very understanding and very forgiving of Ezra Miller. So, you know, let's keep that same energy for Will Smith slapping the shit out of somebody. Let's get him back in the DCU. Now, I know James Gunn has, cleaned the slate and cleaned house as he fucking should. But there are the DC Elseworld projects, or is that what it's called? I think the Batman and the Joker, Voulez-vous coucher avec joie is coming out, and I forgot what else is a DC Elseworld project. But can we possibly get a Deadshot spinoff? Can we see Deadshot pop up in one of these movies? I don't know, man. It would be great to see Will Smith play Deadshot again, man. I feel like he was along with Margot Robbie, he was the highlight of Suicide Squad, man. He was one of the reasons I was going to see that. Obviously, I was going to see Jared Leto, his interpretation of the Joker. I was going to see Ben Affleck's Batman. I was going to see the dark tone that they advertised in that first trailer. Obviously, we didn't get that because the studio pussed out and they did all those happy-go-lucky Marvel-like reshoots and shit. But that's neither here nor there. But if Will Smith is in a I'm going to touch back on these properties type of mood, can we get a Deadshot spinoff? Can we get Hancock too? Now, I don't know about y'all. I think Peter Berg did a great job introducing a brand new superhero into the mix that was not, if to my knowledge, I do not think Hancock was based off of a comic book, a TV show. I think that was an original property that Peter Berg directed. I don't think he wrote it, but Peter Berg directed. Charlize Theron was in there. Oh my God, what's my man's name from Office Christmas Party? I can't remember his name right now, but Will Smith was a great superhero who was just, he was a regular guy. He was sitting on a park bench, passed out drunk and hungover. And they're like, Hancock, you got to go save the world. This train's about to run over somebody. He's like, man, get the fuck out of my face, man. I don't feel like being bothered. He had to reinvent himself in that movie, man, and he became the hero that everybody wanted, that he didn't even want to be. I would love to see a Hancock 2. There was always rumors of a part 2, and it was like in development hell or whatever they classified it as ages ago. But I would love to see part 2 of that, and I feel like bring Peter Berg back. I like Peter Berg as an actor, but once I found out he was a director as well, I was like, okay, this is a man of many hats, and I got way more respect for him than I already did. Can we get Hitch 2? If we getting sequels to Big Willie movies, let's get Hitch 2. Eva Mendes already said, somebody asked her what she doing, and she's like, yo, Will, let's go. Like, where you at? Let's make it happen. I would love to see Hitch 2. I feel like Hitch is one of Will Smith's most underrated. It reminds me of like Boomerang, and not necessarily How to Be a Player, but it's got like that Boomerang Cruel Intentions type of take where the guy who swears he's this Casanova, I mean, which he was in the movie, he ends up falling in love with somebody he, unexpectedly. I love stories like that, man, where his characters just get turned on their ears. Now, I'm gonna close this out with one more request. If we're getting sequels from Will Smith, and I know I'm gonna lose a lot of fucking, I don't know what I'm gonna lose. I don't give a shit. Y'all know I got my unpopular opinion. Some people are here for it, some people ain't. That's just what it is. But if I could ever get a sequel to a Will Smith movie, can I get a sequel to Wild Wild West? I don't give a fuck who just frowned their face up right now, because I love that movie. I love that Will Smith and Barry Sonnenfeld teamed back up on screen to make something wild and wacky, pun intended, after they did, the Men in Black movies, because people forget Barry Sonnenfeld directed Men in Black. I don't think they did the third movie at that point, but they had definitely worked together on the first 2, if I'm not mistaken, if not the first one. But I love Barry Sonnenfeld's direction, man. I love that it was a period piece. I love Selma Hayek in the movie, Kevin Kline. I want to say Melinda Clark is in that movie at some point. Fucking Julie from Return of the Living Dead. Hold up now, because y'all know I'm a zombie fan. I have to see. You know what, people? I just backtracked. Now, remember I was saying something about Akiva Goldsman. I knew I recognized that motherfucker's name somewhere because he was the writer for Batman and Robin. Yeah, I had to take a pause on that note. God damn, I knew. I knew. And he was executive producer on Doctor Sleep and The Dark Tower. Ugh, God. Yeah, I'm not going to concern myself with that, but and I don't even think I got enough time to look up, whether I don't know if it was Debbie Mazar. Sometimes she looks like Melinda Clark. But, you know, I love the cast of Wild Wild West, man. I love how wacky it was. I love that Artemis Gordon was the man of many contraptions and shit like that. And I love how you had like this odd couple type of situation with Jim West and Artemis Gordon where they had to work together. You know, it's kind of like James West did shit by the books and from the muscle, and Artemis Gordon was just a master at his craft. And he, you know, the unlikely pair, man, that triumphed at the end of the movie. I love that movie. I know people hated that movie. Will Smith has gone on record to say that was one of the regrets of his career was doing Wild Wild West instead of The Matrix. But I feel like everything worked itself out, man, because, you know, Keanu Reeves is Neo. It would have been cool to see Will Smith in The Matrix. I don't know what other casting choices they had for it. But it definitely would have been cool, man. But I'm hoping that, you know, overall, people, to wrap things up, I really do. If there's anything that this movie has from me, it's my curiosity. I'm talking about I Am Legend 2. You know, all gripes aside with, you know, is it a cop out that they're picking up from the alternate ending when they could have just did that to begin with, and X, Y, and Z and the CG. All of that bullshit aside, I'm very curious to see what they do here. I'm very much looking forward to it because it's two of my favorite actors ever that are going to be on screen together. How much screen time they both share together, that's a whole nother story. I hope that they get the majority of the film together because you do want to have both of them have their moments. Pretty sure Neville's going to have his reflection moment and think about his family that he lost and the dog and things of that nature. Michael B. Jordan, maybe they'll give him some type of emotional backstory and they give him his own screen time to reflect on that. But I am really hoping that this turns out to be something great because if there's one thing I'm a sucker for post-apocalyptic movies. And when you throw in, you know, whether they're zombies, vampires, zompires, mutants, whatever they are, whatever that evil is that's chasing after these motherfuckers, and their resources are limited, and while their resources are limited, they have formed a way of life that suits them, where they got to shut down at a certain hour, where they got to go out in the morning at a certain hour, where they have this routine down packed, man, in the midst of all this mayhem that's going on. I love movies like that, man. Now, shit, and this just dawned on me right now because I'm looking at the article. One of the things that they said that does have me concerned all over again, god damn it, is the producer, you know, your man, the Batman and Robin writer, he did say that this is heavily inspired by the Last of Us TV series. And if y'all follow my TikTok page, Romero Tutor on TikTok, or my Instagram page, which is the same name, then y'all know I gave up on episode 3, man. I was tempted to watch episode 4 because I wanted to give it a chance, but I think The Last of Us was just boring as shit. I feel like it started with a bang, you know, and then they do that 20 or 25 year jump, and I just lost interest after that because it just slowed down instantly in the first fucking episode, and I just wasn't a fan of that, man. But I don't know. I hope that they got their inspirations from The Last of Us for all the right reasons, and maybe the inspirations they got are some things that I haven't seen in the game and the series so far. So you know, I'll reserve judgment for that. But just hearing that off the rip, it was like, ugh, I did not like those first couple episodes I watched of The Last of Us, man. I was less than impressed, to say the least, man. But I'm hoping they know what they're doing. I'm hoping that this is a good career move for Will Smith and Michael B. Jordan, and I hope this is a solid sequel. Excuse me. God damn, that y'all ever get hiccups from coffee? Like, it was like a hiccup burp type of thing. But whatever, man. I'm hoping this is great. You know, to close it out on a positive note, people, I hope this is great. But y'all already know what to do, man, and where to go. And if y'all don't, y'all can follow the podcast on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Radio Public, Podbean, and Podcast Addict. Shout out to Anchor. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, Romero Tutor. Shout out to the Facebook movie group, The Cinemaniacs. And last but certainly not least, shout out to the Tutor reviewers, the listeners, the lovers, the supporters out there. Happy Tuesday to y'all, man. Hope everybody's having a great and productive day. Hope everybody has a great and productive night. Stay motivated, man. I feel like I had some encounters and experiences nonetheless last week that definitely told me to not only tell myself but to tell everybody else, stay motivated, stay focused on the task, keep going. Also, happy birthday to, I think it's his 44th, to Jordan Peele, the man, the myth, the legend. You know, I said this in my Instagram post, definitely an inspiration for me. Shit, it's still Black History Month. Maybe I'll do commentary for Get Out or Us. I already did my Nope commentary. I banged that out, so y'all can check that out if y'all want. But, you know, I had mentioned Jordan Peele because he is, like, when I say motivation, somebody that just motivates me is that guy. So if I'm not saying I'm fucking Jordan Peele. Obviously, I've never made a feature film in my lifetime. But if I can be that person to anybody out there that listens to the show and, wants to start their own, or, has their own, if you just need the words of encouragement today, then that's what I'm giving y'all, man. Like I said, stay focused, stay motivated. Keep in mind, man, that nobody's going to be as passionate about your dream as you are. That is, I cannot stress that enough, man. That's something that I'm like still struggling to come to terms with, but I feel like I've gotten more seasoned to it, so I can dish that information out or that advice to other people, man. Because it's, you, what am I trying to say here, man? I'm trying to close this out on some words of encouragement. I should just be, I should have just knocked the tripod and the laptop and the microphone over and just been like, fuck all this shit, man. Everybody just do y'all. Happy Tuesday. End it like how Marlon Wayans ended, what was it, Death? Literally Death Comedy Jam and Don't Be a Menace. But all in all, people, I won't get all sappy and sad on here, man. But stay motivated, people. If ain't nobody out there rooting for y'all creatively, then y'all know for good and goddamn sure that I am rooting for y'all, man, every single time. And y'all already know the love and support that y'all show me. I show it back to y'all tenfold and then some. So with that being said, people, yours truly, Romero Tudor. Another episode of Tudor Reviews in the can. I'll check y'all on the next one.